I'm not just nitpicking words with you, but what Jyotish said is, Ananda will be the most important thing on the planet. So he wasn't just saying biggest. And he meant it. That's why you heard it, you remember it, many of us did. And this is an odd thing to say about your own acharya, because of course you would feel that way. But he meant it, and he was right. It's so clear when you look around at, there's a word I'm looking for, let me see if it'll come. Intentional spiritual communities around the world. Not religions, not groups like how many Buddhists are there in the world, not like that, but real community. We are already probably one of the biggest, and we are following the teachings very closely of an avatar. That really does make Ananda just that important. Not that any one person is, but these teachings and the other truth, just like Jesus said, where two or more gather in my name, the more of us who are gathering, the energy is so much more than 1 + 1 = 2. I mean, there's such a, I don't know what's beyond exponential in science, but whatever the next thing is, because exponential means by powers of 10, I think, or times itself. I'm not quite sure what the absolute math, but it gets bigger and bigger quickly. But this is infinite power that we're talking about. And, you know, Yogananda says in his, I believe that I first read this in his discipleship, Swamiji's discipleship notes, but I'm not sure about that. Doesn't matter. But again, I'm quoting Yogananda now. He said, every person who is on this path, who's a devotee on this path, meaning basically we've been called onto this path, we've responded, we're disciples. Whether we've taken the vow or not yet, we're disciples. He said we have an absolute responsibility. He used that word. Now, I would never use that word because people would react to it. You know, people don't like to be told that. But Master used that word, just like what you're saying. So that feeling that you've had, like if we allow ourselves to be wowed by it, wowed, W-O-W, apostrophe D, by it, that says, wow, I have a responsibility as a citizen on the path of self-realization to do my very best in as many moments of my life as I can, to be conscious, to be aware, to be a channel for light, for these truths, for these teachings, and to be living them. You know, this morning I got up pretty early because tomorrow I'll be giving Sunday service down for our Monterey Bay people. Last week, the topic was how devotees fall. Though Keshava had a beautiful sermon, but he only talked about how devotees rise. I'm sure Asha, I think, is giving service tomorrow. She'll find more to say about it. But because I actually at the time thought I was giving service here, I forgot where I was giving it. I thought, he's giving my talk. But of course he was giving his own talk. But I was reading everything Swamiji's written on just that topic without picking it apart, titled, How Devotees Rise. So he writes, what's the name of our, Rays of the One Light, Rays of the Same Light, which most of you don't read, but he writes a lot more pages about the same readings and topics. And then for the first 6 months of the year, he finished, early in his lifetime, a book called The Promise of Immortality. Very, very deep book about every one of these readings. For the first 6 months, he never did the second 6 months. Actually, really hard to read as a beginner on the path. We tried to use it for our book club. It did not go over well. Kriya satsang groups. It was hard for a lot of people, understandably. But I was reading all of that this morning, and he finds so many inspiring, deep, colorful, just example after example to basically say life is a balance of meditation and action, meditation and karma yoga. And he just keeps saying it. Well, you can't stand up and give a sermon and you could just say that. There you go. That's how we rise. We keep meditating. We keep serving. That's it. If you read it all, you would see. But, and again, it's deep and it's entertaining. But I know I can't just say that tomorrow. That's a very short sermon. But it's truth. But what he's saying is every action that we take, which is every action, whether you're feeding your child, holding your child, trying to keep your child's hands off the microphone, whether you're meditating, whether you're cooking a meal, doesn't matter. It's not the action, but it is the attitude with which we do it. It's the consciousness. It's the awareness. And he's showing us in these readings and writings how often can we keep coming back. I'm doing this for God. I'm doing this with God. This is God serving God. How often can we make more and more and more moments of our life about God? Because then we're rising. Every time we do that, this is how devotees rise. Well, we can get very specific with it. We could say, do this practice, do that practice, meditate this long at first, then that long. But the lesson and the meaning is do it always with with God consciousness. And you've all heard me say this, but I'm going to say it again because it's so easy to say those words. But sometime ask yourself, honestly, when is the last time today that I thought about God? Ask yourself. Everything you've done, gardening, cooking, shopping, cleaning, meditating even, when is the last time I thought about God? For most of us, there would be some period of time. Not that we're not engaged in good activity, but how do we enhance that practice of constantly keeping so that we become a beam of that consciousness? How do we do that? And it is, why do we call it the practice of meditation or spiritual practices? It's not inherently who we are in a human body. We are that, but we're so much ego. If we weren't, we wouldn't be able to stay in the body because the soul is the ego identified with the body. So as long as the body's here, it's the ego identified with it. And I'm saying it even though we've heard it, to say this is challenging. But I've told this story many times. It's a success story. The story, and I'm saying it because it's everyday life stuff. I've spoken about Barry and I for so many years to so many people because he has been the best spiritual teacher for me, the best, because it was hard. It was very hard for a lot of years. It did not feel like a match made in heaven. It felt like, what the heck? And so many people who met us, people who had a little bit of chutzpah, I would say, they would say to me, what are you two doing together? It was not ever clear. What was clear is that I was meant to be with him. That was always clear. When I doubted it, I meditated on it. So some years ago, and a lot of you have heard me say it, I said, because I was reaching a point of wanting to leave, but I knew I wasn't supposed to. Every time I look in his eyes, every time, I will only see Master's eyes. Now, that didn't work the first day or the first month, but it started working. Every time I looked, I quit seeing Barry soon, and I was meticulous about it. And I would say out loud now, this is years, that Barry and I, now we're together just under 40 years, that for all of the struggle, and it was big, and it was challenging and painful, we are in a place, I'm in a place, I'll speak for myself, where my heart just expands when I'm with him, when I look at him. We are treating each other so beautifully, like as in divinely loving. The relationship has been not just transformed, it has been, but we've been transformed. Now, that wasn't easy. I wanted to leave many times, but that was a practice. And in this letter that I'm writing to this person who I just didn't treat well, one of the things that I'm saying to that person is the anger that I was holding on to, having nothing to do with her, but her topic and mine overlapped. So she would bring up her issues. My anger would jump in, and I'd be speaking to her about what she should do. But it was my anger, and it was about me. I mean, it was so off. It's embarrassing, except I'm not going to do what Judas did. I just refuse. I feel like, okay, this is introspection. I have to be willing to notice I did that, not beat myself up, but start doing it right, making amends, as they say in the 12 steps. And what I said, and I haven't finished the letter, but what I'm saying to that person is, I was off, I was wrong. I apologize because of whatever ways that it was uncomfortable for you, because it was. And I said, just like Barry, because this person's known about Barry and I, was such a great teacher for me, I am going to use this situation absolutely in the same way. Now, my instinct is to stay angry, and I could justify it. I could, on the physical plane, and to do many things to hold on to that contracting energy. And to a certain degree, it feels good. You know? I mean, when we're honest, they hurt me, they did this, they're awful. But, you know, all the ways the boss was wrong. I mean, you can just, but so what? Where does that get our soul? But the more I can practice seeing God, seeing God, seeing God, and not have to run away, because otherwise it's running away. You know, it's losing progress that we've made. That's the responsibility. And I think the closer to the top of the mountain that we get, wherever we are, and I've said this too, but it's real, and it's why Master speaks about mountains so much. I don't know who's ever actually hiked up to the top of a mountain, a tall and steep mountain, not mountain climbing with equipment. You get closer to the top, it's steeper, because this is the way the top of mountains look, most of them. And there's what's called scree, all these tiny little pebbles and dirt, and and it comes down like that. It means you take a step up, and if you're not careful, wait, make sure you have your footing, get a pole in the ground, whatever you're going to do, you slide back. It's hard to reach the top. It's easy to get close to the top, but it's very hard. And I feel that's what our path is. But what else are we going to do? I mean, I could look at every one of you in this room. What else would we do? give up or give in? My goodness. With all of what we know, how could we do that? So we have to fight the hard fights from a place of spiritual principle, spiritual accuracy, dedication to God and Guru, really. And I wrote to this person in the letter. It's amazing how many words of Swamiji's songs come up. But I said to them, this is a get thee behind me, Jesus did say moment. Because that's what these are. You have to say to Satan, no, get behind me. You are not leading. Jesus is saying, I'm here. Look at my energy. This is what you want. This is how you can really have everything you want. And we're not free until we're free. But yeah, it's a responsibility. Master said we have to remember that, whether we like it or not. We each have a responsibility, not just for us, but that's the energy that we're putting out into this world. We are a part of God's plan to make the world right. That's why Ananda will be, if it's not now, the most important thing in the world, because each one of us carries this little bit of responsibility that will make it one and whole. And that's the answer. Not always easy or fun or pleasant. Sometimes we just want to go to sleep or take a nap or throw a temper tantrum. Remember what Swamiji said, if you're not making progress on this spiritual path, you're losing. Ground, thank you. I couldn't think of the word. Yeah.